Hi, guys. As you know, I've been coaching a lot of people individually as a service. And a lot of times, what I do is I take what I learned in my sessions with you all and then turn it into a live video to address some of the most commonly asked questions of me. And the most commonly asked question, typically of me, is okay, what do I do when the 3D facts are in my face? And like, I've been working on my self concept, I've been working on everything, and 3D shows up the opposite of what I want. Like, what do I do with that? Okay. So, that is a very commonly asked question, and so I want to address it in the best way I know possible. I'm going to turn to the Bible. You know I love this and I live for this, right? We'll turn to the Bible, okay? I'm going to ask you to take a moment to recall in the Bible where it says that God was touring Eden and gave Adam the right to name things. Made all the creatures on earth, made everything, and said, Adam, you can name these things. Well, for those of you that understand the code, Adam is code for mankind. And since this is our world and this is our universe and it is made in our image and that is the agreement, we are the ones that are defining things. Okay? So the reason this is so important to understand and know is simple. This is what you do when 3D shows up as the opposite of what you think. This is what you need to stop and remember. Your conditioned way of being has been solidified into a particular state. This state can mean anything. Actions do not need to change in order for your understanding of said events to change. Actual revision is not about, like I said, getting out of your car because you parked in front of a tree, getting out and trying to chop down the tree. Yes, you can do that to open your door, but so many things can go wrong, i.e. the tree can fall on your car, right? Okay? Just because it's one way of doing things does not mean it is the only way of doing things. Okay, that's important to understand because just because you think it means something, the opposite is actually true as well. So here's an example, and this is why it's so important. If someone is busy and they don't respond right away, it does not mean that they don't love you. It does not mean that they're not there for you. It does not mean any of these things. Okay? They just might be busy with what they're doing in the moment, and they will come to you when they come to you. Okay? For you to not think that is important, because if you continue to think that, that is what you uphold instead of the truth. And so what happens is what you were told not to do, and that's judge or eat from that tree of good and evil. Because you have frozen what you believe is real in that moment. And yes, you can have that. However, it is not the only definition. I always use the example of the caveman. You guys have heard me say this a billion times in my calls with you, in these videos, in everything. I give the analogy of the caveman. If you're in a darkened cave, your eyes have not adjusted to what's in there, okay? And you see a savage man coming to you, your first instinct is that he's a savage. This is your definition of what is in the moment because you're looking at what's in front of you, okay? Once your eyes have adjusted, and this is the reason I use this analogy, once your eyes have adjusted, this is represented by the amount of time that you do not judge. You just wait for it to unfold so you can decide what it means from that later, okay? Once your eyes have adjusted to the dark, you realize there's a tiger in with the caveman. The caveman's trying to protect his family. Now, his action has not changed, but your understanding and the definition of what is happening has. That's what God asks you to remember. You have the ability to define something, and just because your conditioned way of seeing has been solidified out there for you to make something of it, does not mean that that is the only definition in existence. If that were true, you wouldn't have hot and cold behavior. You wouldn't have one moment your reality and one moment you don't. You wouldn't toggle back and forth as you're trying to stabilize the field of what you are. This power has always been yours. It's always been yours. And if you are conditioned to think negatively, if how you are thinking is hurting you, what you must do is stop. Stop for a minute and understand how the pain is serving you. Rather than trying to avoid the pain, I need you to stop in that moment to say, what is it that I believe right now? And is it possible that it can mean something else? Is it possible that I am not trying to change what happened, but I'm trying to change my understanding of what happened so I can grow from it? If you start treating these things like this, you will notice that you go through life at ease because you have never forgotten your ability to define things. This is uber important. It really is. Because my answer every single time, what do I do when the opposite manifests, is chop chop. Who's deciding what the opposite is? Who's deciding what this means? Have you understood what's in front of your face to see what's behind it? Because if you have not, this is the reason for your suffering. So you're deciding that can only mean one thing. And if that one thing hurts you, then you are using the law in reverse against yourself. And you have forgotten that what you determine is what will be. And it's always been that way. Always. This power is something you've always had and not known. Because if you weren't raised this way, you weren't raised to understand your power, especially because you were told that this book was historical, that the Bible was not an instruction manual, that it was historical, that it was history, that it's past tense, that it has nothing to do with you, that there's something outside of you. Bullshit. It is your instruction manual on how to receive what you want out of life. Because it was already given. It was already given. Okay? So that's the first question, answering the first question is to stop and remember that you have the power to define something, and that secondly, if it is causing you pain, you are using the law against yourself, and that it can mean other things. And just because you're conditioned of thinking this way is the reason you are standing before this problem, for you to develop the understanding of who you are. It is not a death sentence. It is not a trap. It is not something you can't get out of. No. It was made by you, for you, and it will happen to you by your hand all the time. It's not about blame, and it's not about pointing out what's wrong. It's about taking ownership. In ownership, you can change it. In ownership, you can look at it differently. You can see how it serves you. The truth is, all problems are shortcuts. Perceived problems are shortcuts because God's ideas are whole. So the solution is contained in the problem. And if you are so focused in the problem, then you're not looking at the solution. Then hello, that's the reason you can't see your way out. You're not focused in the right direction. So you are making the problem bigger than the solution. Secondly, okay, perhaps one of the most important things, there is an aspect of yourself that you cannot see. You can hear it, you can feel it, right? But you cannot see it. This being is everything at once. because you, in your imagined state and your temporary point of location, can only represent what you think you are in the moment on the third dimensional plane. You will only see this aspect of yourself. However, there is a greater aspect of yourself that is all-seeing, all-knowing, that doesn't exist in time, that if it wants to take a solution that will occur 50 years from now, that you have no possible way of knowing that's how it will work out, but that is how it will work out, then you have to allow for this solution to take over. The best part about this partnership with this invisible nature of yours that you should develop a really good relationship with is that it does the knowing for you. It takes care of the how. Your job is to align with this vibration so that it can do this for you. So that it allows you to say, if anything, your prayer should not be, give me the power to change this. The power should be, and the prayer should be, give me the power to accept what is and the ability to see through it. That will allow you to change it. But there's a trust that must be formed. Okay? The most important thing you will ever learn is your power to define things is determining the quality of your life. Literally determining the quality of your life. If you don't like what you have chosen, you have to work on seeking other meanings and accepting those. That reality is like the parable of the blind men and the elephant. Okay? Let me explain this for a second. I'll explain. If you take men and you blindfold them, and reality is represented by an elephant, okay? And the blindfolded men, in this case, represent your ability to see, because you can only see as far as your proximity. You are limited by that. So let's just say that that's the equivalent of being blindfolded. So if I ask you to blindfold yourself, hold a piece of the elephant, and describe the elephant to me, those of you that are holding the leg will tell me it's a tree trunk. Those of you holding the ear will say it's like a flying, praying, what do you call those? The mantis ray in the ocean. Those of you holding the tail will say it's like a snake. Here's the thing. Because of your point of perception, all of you are correct. Partially. Correct. Partially. There's a bigger picture at stake. And just because you can't see the whole elephant, this is causing you turmoil. Relax. It will continue to unfold. If you don't judge this moment, it will show you how it is working for you. It is our ability to stop and hold things and say, oh no, this is bad, that makes it bad. Because you will notice that even when you break your leg, it will serve you. Even when the car gets stolen, it will serve you. It doesn't matter what happened, it is serving you. It is your job not to judge it and wait and see how it unfolds. In the meantime, it is your job to stand in faith regardless of what happens. This is how that muscle is developed in how you can have peace over all things. I never said that nothing bad, quote unquote, by bad I mean undesired, not morality police, not good versus evil, I mean undesired, isn't going to happen. Okay? But it's how you deal with these things that determine who you are, how you come out ahead. It's important to take the moment to remember the power to define things. It's yours. It never hasn't been. And unfortunately, because I didn't grow up on the Bible the way that I understand it now, I couldn't say this before. But from experience, I can tell you this now. Because I lived it. I actually follow the book now. And the book shows me how to live. So, I'm going to share this knowledge with you so you can remember what to do when what you think the opposite of what you want is occurring. So that you can remember that the power to define things are yours. And this way you can stop holding on to the things that you don't like, because you are the one determining what that is and what it looks like. Okay, guys? All right. I hope that helps. Always remember this power is yours. It will make a hell of a difference in your life. And this will take the pressure off, because I think a lot of times you guys are trying to force someone to comply into being different. Take your attention off that. Stop. Stop. If it's a mirror, and it is, then you, the source reflection, needs to be more in tune with who you are being, because that determines what's out there. Focus isn't out there. It's in here. For thousands of years, you have been told the kingdom is within. Stop seeking out there. Stop chasing ghosts. Okay? These things are animated based on your state. It is dead matter. Like zombies. Like zombies, okay? It's dead matter. It does what you do on autopilot. So, if you allow for this experience to define you, you are doing the opposite of what Neville teaches. Neville says, the potter, which is you, the designer, the architect, the one who is creating everything, does not ask the 3D clay what it wants to be. In other words, I do not let circumstances define me. I define those things. There's a difference in the power. Very difference. Because if you're allowing the circumstances to define you, you are in quote-unquote victim mode. And since you cannot ride two horses at once, you will remain there, thinking the world is happening to you, believing in fate and conditions, and believing that people behave of their own free will to show up as you are. But the most important thing that you learned in the Bible, okay, when Christ was being crucified by his own nightmare, was his request for forgiveness. He understood the design and said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Meaning, brain, please forgive me for creating this illusion, because that's why these people are behaving the way that they are. He took ownership even as he was crucified. Learn from that. Learn from that, because if you want to do what he did and greater things, you have to take responsibility like he did. And the truth is, we are all crucified to our state until we do. You see, these stories mean so much more than you give them credit for. So much more. Okay? But if you want Christ's power, you're going to have to forgive your creation, you're going to have to forgive yourself, and you're going to have to remember that the only person responsible for every occurrence in their life is you. And if you do not take the time to love, honor, cherish, be everything that you want to give to someone else, and you don't give it to yourself first, please do not expect the world to give it to you. Don't. The order of operations, you first, then them. In that order. The reason that is so important, you guys, is because in a relationship that works, when you are down, they stand up. When they're down, you stand up. But it's a give and take relationship in which both people are honored for who they are. Both people love everything about themselves and you, because they see themselves in you. And as such, this is a balanced and harmonious union. And if that's what you're looking for, please understand it begins and ends with you. All right, you guys. Think about what I'm saying. I know Those of you that are on already at this level totally get what I'm saying because you're my living examples of it. And for those of you who don't, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that will change the way you look at the world, the way you understand things, and you will see that suffering is an option that you can get out of. That peace and happiness is not something you try to be. It's a natural thing because this is your natural state. And when you feel like this, it is because you have the trust of an infant in your greater aspects of your spirit. You trust like an infant. And an infant's needs are always met. So if you're looking for a specific vibe, that's the vibe you want to have. A trusting nature in what's happening. All right, you guys. My ex didn't wish me on my birthday today, even though he's been messaging me lately. That's okay. That's okay. How many times have you forgotten that? Think about it like this, Miriam. Think of it like this. How many times have you not intentionally forgotten someone's birthday and then come back and realize, sorry? Okay? So if you can forgive yourself for doing the same, you can forgive him for doing the same. In terms of, the more you develop a relationship, the more you'll understand. Right now, if he's your ex, he may or may not be the same. Okay, you're going to stop calling him your ex if you don't want him to be your ex. And you're going to honor yourself and honor him, and you're not going to, or her, and not hold any grievances. Because love doesn't hold grievances. But you also understand where it's coming from without getting upset. It doesn't have to mean what you think it means, because these things can happen to anyone. They're not purposely neglecting you. Do you know that in my situation, I have a friend who is 15 hours ahead of me. So we have 2 different dates for the birthday. So for me, the birthday happens the day after. And for her, it starts the day before. Okay? So I could just as easily not wish her happy birthday on her time because it's on the wrong date. Because in my world, it hasn't occurred yet. Do you see? Right? Totally innocent doesn't mean that I love her any less. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, is someone forgetting your birthday can mean anything. It's never an intentional act. And if you don't take it personal, if you can make room for that, you can discuss it later if you want, but don't trip over it. Okay, don't make it something, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. It doesn't have to be, because it's never intentionally there to hurt you. If you believe people are intentionally there to hurt you, you will get that. So if you can take your mind off of that and be like, yep, it happens. It's okay. Okay? Instead, look forward, not back. And keep going. I promise you it'll work out. Okay, you guys, I love you. I hope this is helping. Consider what I'm saying. Think about it. Please don't forget you have the power to define things. Nothing means what you think it means. Okay? Hi, Cindy. Can you talk about the withdrawers mask? Yes. So here's the thing, you guys. I debated this. The reason I haven't done this as much, and I am thinking about it, is this. When I told you to read Heal Your Wounds, Find Your True Self, it is a deeply personally revealing book in which you will discover things about yourself and how you've dealt with life and why you're behaving the way you're behaving. The reason that I tell you to read it first before coming to me is because you have to read it for yourself. If I were to try and describe it, I can help you understand it. But I don't want it to come across as judgmental or as if I'm judging your actions or anything because nothing can be further from the truth. The reason I recommended the book is because I recognize myself in it, right? But that's the reason I hesitate, okay? But I will talk about these things soon, and I will say that when I talk about them, here's what I want you to understand. I will talk about them at my level of understanding. I will tell you my experiences, no problem. And then you can use that for your understanding. However, I highly recommend that you don't use me as cliff notes, and that you do take the time to read the book and you take the time to understand, because this book is the key to your parents, the key to your understanding your attraction to others. Okay? Many of you are attracted to people that you should not be attracted to under logical reasoning, meaning the ones that did you dirtiest or hurt you the most because you understood that it's you. You want to gravitate towards that painful shit and you don't understand why. Okay, that is your wound deciding who you like, because like attracts like. And so the reason for your attraction is you're still seeking yourself, your broken self. That's the reason. That's the reason you want what shouldn't want, like what you shouldn't want. Like, why would you gravitate towards painful shit? Like, why? What the fuck are you thinking when there's so many people out there that can be so much better for you, right? And against all reasoning, you're like, why do I want him when he did me so dirty? Well, I'll tell you, because you don't love yourself enough to understand that you are looking to heal your wounds, and you are looking for the wounded aspects of yourself because you've come to appreciate and love them, and you're looking for yourself. You're looking for the normal. What's normal? Okay, and you unconsciously do this until you become consciously aware of these wounds. That is the reason why I say, please read the book at least 6 or 7 times. Not just once, 6 or 7 times, at least. Okay? Because these 5 wounds, betrayal, humiliation, abandonment, rejection, and injustice, are responsible for the way the world is right now. These 5 wounds are the only obstacle you will ever have in your relationships. They're only 5. Only 5, you guys. 5 tiny little imaginary things stand in the way between you and your perfect relationship with the universe at large. By universe at large, I mean your personal relationships with your children, your personal romantic relationships, your personal relationships with coworker, everything, the whole universe. These 5 wounds. So if you're going to take the time to understand, take the time to understand this is your only obstacle. These 5 tiny little things are determining how you behave, what you see, what you react to, why you're scared, why you're any of these things. This is right there. Okay? And so if you can take the time to love on yourself and really, really let that shit sink in, you will understand and start to let go of the obsession for someone else. Because if you don't love these aspects of yourself, this is exactly what's going to be rejected in the world. Exactly what's going to be rejected. So, for example, if you have been abandoned, you are going to cling to people for safety. This is a mask. It gives you a false sense of security. Okay? So if you've been rejected, you may have a clingy attachment style. Okay? You're going to then attract people that are not clingy. And when you are clingy, the very first thing they're going to do is, oh, wait, please. And you are going to feel even more rejected than ever before. And that may be very painful. However, you need it. Because if you don't become aware of what you unconsciously uphold, it continues to repeat. So rather than getting upset with the messenger, understand how it serves you so you can change it. That's important. It's not about victimhood. It's not about what they did to you. Ever. It is, however, how you define these things in your understanding that makes a difference. That's what makes a difference. Okay? Those of us who have been abandoned, that's what we do. Some of us can also have been rejected. So we do the opposite. We do what's known as the withdrawer. Okay? This is, I'm going to, in childhood, you're probably familiar with this in childhood, I'm going to break up with him before he breaks up with me. Or if you're a guy, I'll totally dump her. I heard she's going to dump me. I'm going to dump her first. Okay? Do you remember this as a child? Okay, you continue to do this as an adult. If your attachment style is withdrawal, that is the reason you're withdrawing, okay? So your greatest fear is someone withdrawing from you. So you're going to attract withdrawers so you can see it. This is what I mean about understanding the wound so you can understand why people are behaving the way that they are. They are absolutely innocent. It is their job to show you into yourself. Not about blame. But if you don't understand why people are behaving that way, you might get angry with them for being how they're being with you. Even if what they did was the most painful thing of your existence, like walk out of your life and never talk to you again. Okay, damn, that hurt. Absolutely, and I understand the fear of not having that happen again. Damn, that hurt. However, it served you because if they hadn't abandoned you, you wouldn't know that you have an abandonment wound, and therefore you can't work on healing it. If you don't work on healing it, guess what happens, baby? You continue to uphold it unconsciously, and people continue to show you how you do this to yourself. Now, here is the trap and the 3D box, okay, where you stay stuck, right? They will continue to show you what you're doing to yourself. You, in unconscious awareness, don't know that that is what's happening. So where you stand when you look out at this circumstance is you're angry at them. You're angry at what they did to you. However, what they did to you was for you, so you can stop being unconscious of what you are upholding. Make it stop and live from a different point in the story. There is a reason that you landed in the middle of your story. There is a reason, because you are the veil. You are protecting against your own story, so you are on the receiving end of what you've declared into being. You are always on the receiving end of what you declare into being. And if you forget that everything outside of you is you, you'll still be on the receiving end of everything you declared into being, but you will blame others for what you did to yourself. And that's wrong. It's wrong because that's victim and not creator. It's not wrong as in morally incorrect. It's wrong as in, oops, I missed the mark. I forgot I was the creator. I forgot I'm here for the purpose of fixing this right now. Of changing my way of thinking so that the people outside can change with me. Okay? So that's a brief description of these wounds. I probably will get into workshops about this. But I'll get more in depth, but if I do, please understand that if you have not read the book and you use me as cliff notes, don't expect the same results. You really have to embrace the material, because it is in understanding the material that you will understand why your reality is the way that it is. Literally. All that unconscious stuff when you're like, what the heck was I thinking? Why did I choose this? You chose it because you chose to embody these things, because the whole universe has these 5 wounds, and we chose to embody them so that we can, by example, heal them and then teach others how to heal. So it is by design, it is a choice, it is also a costume. You are not actually wounded. It is a costume that you wear so that you can discover who the hell you are. So in understanding that, you don't have to own being broken. You just have to understand what you chose so you can understand it first. When you heal yourself, I swear on my life, everyone treats you differently. Everyone. And it won't matter who you choose. Everyone treats you differently. And those that don't, you won't tolerate. You won't tolerate. Why? Because you understand your worth and your value. So I hope that helps. And thank you for the question. And I will continue to talk about these wounds in more depth. But like I said, I just want to avoid being the Cliff Notes version of a book you really need to read 6 or 10 times yourself. Okay? Love you guys. Bye-bye.